This question comes from, well, technically no one, but let's pretend a guy named Kevin asked, what if all insects disappeared overnight? No warning, no suspicious buzzing. One day, they're crawling, flying, stinging, annoying. The next day, nothing. It's like the entire insect world collectively decided to ghost humanity. At first you might think, great, no mosquitoes at the picnic. And yes, for a few glorious days, humanity would be celebrating. We could eat ice cream outside without wasps threatening our lives. Spiders, technically not insects but close enough in our panic, would look confused, wondering why the buffet is empty. But give it a week, and things start to feel off. The birds are quiet, not because they're suddenly zen, but because breakfast, lunch, and dinner just vanished. Many birds, bats, frogs, and even fish rely on insects as their primary food source. Without bugs, they start to starve. The entire food chain begins to wobble like a badly balanced Jenga tower. And then there's pollination. Sure, bees are the insect world's celebrity pollinators, but they're not alone. Butterflies, moths, beetles, and even flies do a lot of the heavy lifting. Without them, many plants can't reproduce effectively. Crops like apples, almonds, coffee, and chocolate take a serious hit. That's right, no insects, no chocolate. Suddenly, this hypothetical is starting to feel like a horror story. Over the next few months, farmers would be scrambling to hand-pollinate crops. This works for some plants. There are people in parts of China who already pollinate fruit trees by hand due to local bee population crashes. But scaling that up globally is nearly impossible. Expect food prices to skyrocket, especially for anything that used to rely on insect pollinators. And yes, coffee will become more expensive than gold. Meanwhile, without insects to break down waste, dead plants and animals start to pile up. Normally, bugs like beetles, flies, and ants act as nature's cleanup crew. Rotting matter lingers in fields and forests, making them smell like a compost bin that's been left in the sun for a week. Bacteria and fungi would take over some of that work, but they can't match the efficiency of billions of tiny scavengers. And then, brace yourself. Pests you didn't expect to be a problem might explode in number. Imagine crops being devastated, not because of too many insects, but because of the wrong kinds of them thriving in the absence of natural balance. Over a few years, ecosystems would reshape entirely. Many flowering plants would disappear, replaced by wind-pollinated species like grasses. Birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals that rely heavily on insect diets would either migrate, adapt, or go extinct. And for humans, food would become one of the biggest crises in history. The loss of insect-pollinated crops could trigger famine in vulnerable regions. Prices for fruits, vegetables, and nuts would be so high they'd make avocados look cheap. Meat and dairy could also become more expensive, since livestock often eat feed crops that require insect pollination. The irony? The very people who once swore they hated insects would start wishing for their return. Scientists would try to develop robotic pollinators, but even if that works for agriculture, no amount of tiny drones can replace the countless other jobs insects do in maintaining ecosystems. In the long run, and we're talking centuries, Earth would settle into a new equilibrium. Life would go on, just less colorful, less diverse, and with fewer sounds of summer nights. But by then, humanity might not be around to notice. After all, in our bug-free utopia, we might not survive long enough to fully appreciate just how much those tiny, annoying winged freeloaders mattered. So next time you're about to swat a mosquito, maybe say thank you first. You still have to swat it. Nobody's saying you should become a bug pacifist. But at least you'll know that somewhere out there, in the grand scheme of things, that mosquito is part of the reason you still have chocolate, coffee, and something to complain about in the summer.